Good evening, this is Marcy, and I would like to talk to you about eating right, eating healthy. I will begin today with roots and staples, or these are called root staples. They're also called ground provisions. Now, these are a group of foods that if you eat them, they will actually satiate you. They will actually make you feel full when you are craving. So these are the group of foods, our ground provisions, also called root staples, that provide you with maximum energy in your diet. They do not provide proteins, well, just a tiny, tiny tad bit. Their function in the body is to provide key energy stores. And so be careful to eat them, but to eat them wisely and to eat them in moderation as well, even though they're very good for you. So, in the class of ground provisions, otherwise called root staples, we have yam, and I want to tell you something about yams. Yams are so delicious. Guys, yams are so nutritious. In North America, in Africa, and in some parts of the Caribbean, yams are very popular. I visited Jamaica. I did have my grandma living out there, and based on what she says, there's so many different kinds of yams. On my short visit, what I have learned is that there is a Rena yam. It's a kind of whitish yam. When it's cooked, it's really creamy. There's also the yellow yam. There's a white yam, which has the same texture as the yellow yam, but it does taste slightly different. There's also one called the St. Vincent yam. It's purple. Well, it has a purplish hue outside, but when you do cook it, it turns white. And I find that really, really interesting. Now, yams, like I said before, are staples. So if you have protein, say some fish or some meat, and you do want some energy giving foods to go with that, you can choose yams. Now, you should eat like 2 to 3 servings of yams if you're going to have it as your staple in one dish. Have that along with your proteins, and of course, don't leave out the vegetables, and that will complete your meal. Now we go on to cassava. Cassava is a really interesting root staple. It can be used just as yams. There's something in the Caribbean called bami where they crush the cassava and you dry it in its powder form, and then you actually bake it. It forms a little conglomerate, almost like a Chinese dumpling, and that's called cassava bread in some parts. In other parts of the world, it's called bami. And that's a staple that is usually fried or steamed, and it can go well with fish as well as any kind of meat that you might want to have, and that also includes seafood. So you could have your shrimp with your cassava, you could have your goat's meat with your cassava, you could also have your chicken with your cassava. It goes well with just about anything. Aside from the processed form, which actually gives you your bami, you can cook cassava just the same way as you do yam. And it's a really nice, smooth tasting food. In sub-Saharan Africa, most parts that is, there are persons who make a fufu with the yam. So they would take a mortar and they would beat the yam along with other staples to make somewhat like a paste. And they dip it in a soup, and that's what they have. And it provides really good, healthy energy. It's good for your bowels because It, you know, provides that extra roughage. And cassava is just a superfood. Now be careful, there are two types of cassavas. There's the bitter cassava and there's also the sweet cassava. The bitter cassava contains, yes, some fluids that might be a little bit not so safe, but if you squeeze that out, if you're making your cassava into a powder, then it's totally okay. You squeeze that out and you make your bami with it. Now, I want to move on to bananas. And bananas can be eaten green, as I have here in the picture. Bananas can also be eaten ripe. That's the yellow bananas. Now, those have a sweetish taste. This green banana I have here is a novelty. I really, really cherish the taste of this staple. It can be peeled. First, you have to core it at the top and at the bottom, and then at the sides. You take out that wonderful, wonderful meaty part inside. It's usually whitish to yellowish, depending on the type of bananas. And then you boil that for about 5 to 10 minutes, and it becomes really soft and pliant. You can crush it. You can put your favorite butter on it. You can put olive oil, and you can just drizzle on top your favorite curries or your beef or chicken. It goes really, really well with any protein or fish kind, poultry, as well as seafood. And then we have the wonderful, the power packed, the gracious, I call it my baby staple. Has a sweetish taste. This is our sweet potato, and it's a very versatile tuber. It actually grows from a running, what I would like to call a whip. Basically plant the whip in the earth and it springs, but the potatoes, surprisingly, burrow themselves. The whip actually burrows itself into the soil, and then it starts to swell. And that swelling is called a sweet potato. Now, my favorite way of doing the sweet potato, which I'll show you on Instagram, is to make sweet potato pie. Yeah, I know that sounds delicious. However, it's not your conventional pie. I'll show you how I do that. On my Instagram page, you will see a picture of the sweet potato pie, so go there in a hurry. Subscribe, like, and please share this video as well. Now, with this sweet potato, to make the pie, what I do, I peel it, take the skins off, that red skin, and I grate it. And then I add my sugar, and then I add my natural seasonings, nutmeg, vanilla, cinnamon. There's something called baked spice, which is a mixture of all the spices. I really don't use it because I really don't know what's incorporated in it. So what I do, I actually grate my own spice from scratch. So I get my whole nutmeg, I grate it. I will definitely display that to you on Instagram, so please go to my Instagram. And also I put my grounded cinnamon in, and I mix that all up with a tad bit of baking flour, also a little bit of grounded corn, and I wrap that, if I'm in the countryside, I wrap that in banana leaves. Believe it or not, it gives it a real nice popping delicious flavor. Also, if I'm away in the city where I cannot get banana leaves, what I do, I'll use foil paper, wrap that up, and I boil it for about 15 minutes. And let me tell you, that chewy goodness that's inside, you'd want to taste it. Come over one day and yes, you'll definitely get a taste of that. I want to move on to the dasheen. The dasheen is what I would like to call a weird tuber, and the dasheen is slightly spherical and it is very chewy as opposed to a yam. It's also very gooey, and it's really great in soups. It's really, really healthy. I went to the market and I actually asked for the sheen so I could display it to you. I do owe you that because I need to display that dasheen to you, but the farmers have been having a really, really, really hard time, and there's some crops that have died down in the drought, and so they're in really, really short supply. But I promise I will show you what the dasheen looks like. Just go to my Instagram page, keep subscribing to my channel, and you'll get a chance to see all these lovely tubers. Now the edos, which I don't have a sample of, is another root, usually found in sub-Saharan Africa as well, but was taken to the Caribbean and North America by slaves, of course, and it's usually eaten just like the yam, where you peel, you take out that lovely fleshy part, and you boil. So most of the root staples are eaten boiled, and they're usually used as side dishes sometimes. So if you have a different starch in your diet, say you have a cup of a spoon of rice on your plate, then you can put these starches on the side, maybe a banana or 2 bananas, and it goes well with, like I said before, any of your other proteins. Now I want to do another video with ground provisions, so I want you to stay tuned. Please subscribe and continue watching my channel where I talk about staying fit, being healthy, and eating right. Now, this here is some grounded or crushed corn. This is really, really, really healthy as well. Doesn't grow as a tuber in the ground, but this is a healthful option. In my Instagram page, I will show you how to cook this. Now, these are some oats. These are some oats right here that I have in a packet. And these are really, really healthy for you as well. When this corn is further grounded, it forms cornmeal. And this cornmeal can be used to make a staple. In the Bahamas, this is boiled very softly, and it is incorporated in their grits, and that's usually used for breakfast along with your favorite protein. Now this is another, and this is processed wheat. It's white wheat flour, but without those good husks that were bleached off. I would recommend, therefore, that you use wheat flour as a healthful option, as well as bulgur, which is the rough part of the wheat. That's a more healthful option than the bleached white flour. Now, this won't go through your digestive system very well, this white flour. It's better to have wheat flour, preferably whole wheat or crushed wheat. This is another processed kind of food. It's white rice, and it causes the effect on the body the same as the white flour. Brown rice is a healthier option, and I'll show you that later, so keep watching my channel. This has a bit more starch, and for those of you who are diabetics, you definitely will be releasing more sugar in your blood if you constantly feed on white rice. Brown rice is a better option. I want to show you an example of another form of processed starch. Now this is delicious macaroni, yes, and I know we like our macaroni and cheese, macaroni and mince, but it's not as healthy as our sumptuous ground provision. These actually allow the release of more sugars in the blood, and so if you're not diabetic, feasting on these all the time might cause you to be pre-diabetic. You don't want to be exposed to something that's not as healthy. Now these are processed from wheat flour, and the reason they're whitish like the white flour is because that part of the wheat is bleached and is not as healthy for your body. Okay, so we'd prefer you stick to the ground provisions, the yams, the edibles, the potatoes that are more helpful for you. Okay, so thank you for your time. Thank you for listening, and I hope to talk to you next time. Next time we'll be doing healthy oils and nuts. That's healthy oils and nuts. Look out for that video. Have a nice day. Stay safe and keep healthy. Go to my YouTube channel and work out with me. Go to my Instagram, and I want you to keep up with those lovely recipes. I did promise I will show you my sweet potato bread. Go to Instagram right now. You'll see my sweet potato bread. Have a great day. Bye. Love you.